Omar Berrada and Dan Ashworth have given a really extended interview with the British press where they speak about Eric Ten Hag. They speak about transfers. They speak about the squad, PSR, Sancho, McTominay, the future, lots and lots of things. And I'm going to cover it all in this video for you. All right, I'm going to run through this full interview and break it down. And of course, I'm going to be starting with their comments on Eric Ten Hag. Now, what I would say here, before I get into this video, is this interview was conducted before Liverpool. It's not them giving a vote of confidence to their manager. It was just a sit-down conversation with the press, all right, before anybody jumps in. You can let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. And if you can, please do drop a like on the video. It makes a big, big difference. But let's start with it. And let's start with the comments from Omar Berrada and Dan Ashworth on Eric Ten Hag. And this is what Berrada said. He goes, in terms of the contract, that was a decision that was taken prior to both our arrivals. So they weren't involved in Eric Ten Hag getting their contract. I think they're just making that clear at the start. As I said before, we're very happy with the decision. Eric Ten Hag has our full backing. We go down here. Is he still backed if there's a bad run of results? Do we still believe in Eric? Absolutely. We think Eric is the right coach for us, and we're fully backing him. And Ashworth says down here, he goes, look, well, it happened at Newcastle with Eddie Howe, us inheriting a coach. It's kind of fun. And he said, did you have no say in keeping him? I didn't start until July. None whatsoever. All I can do is reiterate what I remember saying. I've enjoyed working with Eric for the last 8 weeks. I see my job to support him in every way I possibly can, whether that's with medical, psychology, training ground flow. It's just to take as much of that off him to allow him to fully focus on the training pitch and the match tactical plan. And that right there, ladies and gents, is Eric Ten Hag being backed and supported. Ashworth saying, look, anything else you need me to do, I will do. And that's why Eric Ten Hag, the importance on delivering on the pitch is even more so. Everything is now operating at this club. So for Eric Ten Hag's team to get dismantled in the way that they did against Liverpool, it can't happen. And I'll be honest, I don't think that Eric Ten Hag's going to get... It's not going to be a free ride to the end of the season. They're going to need to see progress because there's been so much off the pitch. And in terms of the squad, look, this bit here, Dan Ashworth was asked about recruitment. He's saying, look, didn't you think that maybe signing players who didn't have links to Eric Ten Hag might have been a smarter idea? And he said, look, we've been completely objective. We've taken everything into account and we've come up with the list. He was saying that Yoro's not played for Eric Ten Hag. Ugarte hasn't. Xerxes hasn't either. He might be Dutch, but it doesn't matter. Kind of what he's reiterating here is that Eric Ten Hag did not have a full say on, these are players that we should be signing. It was about positions. And certain players came up in those positions, such as De Ligt, such as Mazraoui. But I actually think both of those were very good signings. And Ashworth is there just kind of reiterating, yeah, it has been a switch in policy. Kind of has been a switch in who's in charge. But it doesn't mean that you can't look at players that have some form of link to Ten Hag. That's kind of what he's saying there. Now, this bit might interest people. The comments on Jadon Sancho. Ashworth here saying that if there's a preference that they would like to move on, go to a new club, it's right for them. You have to explore it. And just kind of staying there at the bottom, we're not kicking players out of the club. A little bit more information here. And Dan Ashworth using the phrase brave sales, which is exactly the sort of thing that I've been speaking about for a while now. United are going to have to sell the likes of McTominay or Wan-Bissaka, or players that might still do a job in the squad, but therefore hold value to other clubs. That's a brave sale. A player that you could sell that might still hold an impact at your club. But in the goodness of the long-term strategy, you get rid of him. Now, Jadon Sancho wasn't part of that. Jadon Sancho was it kind of felt unsellable towards the end of the window. Nobody was willing to pay his wages. Juve backed out of it. No one came in from Saudi. And also, Jadon Sancho wouldn't have wanted to move to Saudi, so wouldn't have done it. And Chelsea came in. And we managed to negotiate that right at the last knock-ins. It's probably one of the most important deals that we did, in my opinion, overall for the club and the squad this summer. And this bit I found, well, not interesting because I've seen it happen in real time. But Omar Berrada just speaking about, look, in terms of the differences that we made this summer, it's true that we have been more open to structuring the contracts in a way that can deliver value in the short term, maybe not much, but also in the future. Selling Van der Beek for 420 grand, but with a sell-on clause. Selling, in my opinion, Mason Greenwood for under what his value is, but we also now get 50% of future profits. So I think United will gain further down the line from our success this window, but in the short term, it looks like we've undersold. Cambuela, we can bring him back if he nails it at Villarreal, but it's I think we really did well this summer. And I'm going to run through my actual squad transfer review a little bit later in the week. Ashworth was asked about, look, the 2024-25 squad, because, look, I've been involved in 25 transfer windows. There is never a perfect window. I think some United fans actually expected it to be a perfect window. I think versus expectations, it was nearly a perfect window. And he's pleased with how the squad is shaping up. Now, if you take a look at the squad here, this is from The Athletic, and I'm going to do my own full version of it. I'd say question marks about left back. Central defensive, we look good, and right back, we look decent. Question marks in midfield. Question marks up front. And question marks as to whether, the attackers can do it. I'd say I'm happy with the squad. The squad is certainly better than it was last year, but that really is only stage one. I think we need to have 3 really successful windows in order for us to really have a squad that can compete. In terms of selling academy players, I think this is completely correct down here, right? Dan Ashworth basically saying, look, you're not really going to get any Paul Scholes or Ryan Giggs anymore. You're not going to get players that stay at a club for 10, 15, 20 years. It's just probably not going to happen because of the rule change and the fact that McTominay wanted that move. Well, Ten Hag didn't want him to leave, apparently. That's what reports suggested. But United pushed it, and that's down as one of those brave sales because of the impact it can have on your bottom line. It's that football and business now are all... they always were intrinsically linked, but they seem to be a lot closer than they were before. And that's why McTominay left. But to go back to the main talking point that everybody's going to be having going into this video is this, right? Erik Ten Hag has the full backing of both Omar Berrada and Dan Ashworth. But he will lose that if the results don't come. All right? We've got smart football men now in a multitude of positions in a really strong network of support for Erik Ten Hag. He's also been given 2 new assistant managers. Change came, and that happened. Erik is just focusing on the results, just focusing on the tactics, and just focusing on training. And that's why that humiliation was bruising, massively bruising. And for me, it really frustrated me that I saw progress against Fulham and Brighton that kind of got thrown out the window. The crazy high press returned, isolated central midfielders returned instead of having 2. Erik has the support, as he should. And that support will continue. But that support will disappear if the progress isn't seen. I don't know how quick that would be. But as it stands, Berrada and Ashworth, as I said, this was given before Liverpool, and it says right there, if there is a bad run of results, no, we absolutely still believe in Erik. I hope that it's not a hope anymore. It's the 3rd season. If Erik doesn't show that consistently improved performance and United heading in the right direction week in, week out, then of course his job is going to be under scrutiny, just like anybody else. But as it stands, and by the way, it's actually really good to hear from Berrada and Ashworth speaking so sort of coherently and clearly on a multitude of things at our football club. Actual football people talking about football. That in itself is refreshing, and it still is. It'll be good if United are actually good at football as well.